Hi, welcome to Health Beat. I'm Dr. Chris Bennett with Orion Family Spinal Center. And joining me today, as usual, is our one of our other hosts, Dr. Barry Hobbs.
Yep, Dr. Barry Hobbs with Hobbs Specific Chiropractic in sunny Livonia, Michigan.
And we have a special guest today, Miss Cindy Crandell from Nuview Nutrition. And we'll be chatting with her today on this episode. And Dr. Hobbs, you and I talked about this, from the very beginning that we wanted this show to be about health and wellness and about, obviously we're upper cervical chiropractors, and that's what we focus on when we do these shows. But we talked about from the very beginning that we wanted to bring a lot of things to the audience, everything from healthy cooking, exercise, nutrition, all these different things. And so this is the first time we've had, and we've maybe done, I think we said, 10 or 12 episodes?
Yes. Yeah.
So this is the first time we've actually had a guest. So we'll see how this goes. I think it should go pretty well, though. So we're going to actually talk with Cindy today and have her first tell us a little bit about herself and her story and kind of what makes her tick. So, Cindy, what is it that got you involved with functional medicine and functional nutrition?
Well, in about, I think it was 2007, I got really sick myself. And I had been living a very fast-paced lifestyle, high stress in corporate America, raising a blended family, 4 children, 5 acres, 3 dogs. All of this was new and very challenging working in, I was actually in pharmaceuticals at the time. It was the #1 in the state of Michigan and led a team of 6 people. Wow. So a lot of stress. And with that, working probably around 60 to 80 hours a week. And I had a special needs son, as well. So there was just a lot of stuff. Many balls were up in the air trying to balance it all. And during this time, I developed iron deficiency anemia. I had vitamin D deficiency, vitamin B deficiency, chronic fatigue, and then I went into full-blown fibromyalgia. So, it's quite a wake-up call when you lose your health.
It is.
Because you're providing for your family and they're counting on your income. So it really takes a different perspective in life. And, I had to take 6 months off work. I had, now my schedule consisted of doctor's visits every single day, iron IVs that were very, very expensive. So, you can't afford to lose your health. Because in all reality, when you look at your health, it should be your #1 priority. When you lose your health, you absolutely have nothing else because it affects every aspect of your life. Yeah. So at this point, I had to take the time. It forces you to now take a look at I got to get better. I gotta focus on me. So off work for 6 months. Appointments every single day. And you're so tired, you can barely walk down the steps, you can barely get out of bed in the morning. And so going to these appointments it was hard. It was hard. I really felt like I needed a driver or a caretaker. But I was the caretaker, right, for everybody. Right. So in that journey, I really realized how important it was to take care of yourself. And I had to get the iron IVs. I had to do things to nourish my own self. But at that point, I didn't do any medication or treatments. I did all natural care and treated myself. And I did fully recover, and I completely reversed fibromyalgia. And it took me about 2 years total. But it was, during that time, I was praying about what does this look like for me? And I really knew that I wanted, my passion was nutrition. My passion was helping people heal. And so finally it all worked. And I was, I think it was 2000, about 8, 9. Remember the collapse of the economy?
Oh, yeah. I was a student actually at that time, and I remember thinking, oh boy, what's going to happen now? We're staring down the barrel of graduation, and the economy's going, tanking.
Right,
great.
And you're like, what now?
Yeah, exactly.
And I looked at that as a total opportunity because, you know, pharmaceuticals were cutting back. Luckily, I was one that was, my entire team, we were all cut. So I was at home doing the happy dance, you know, and this is exactly what I wanted. It was my opportunity to get out there and do what I wanted to do. So, you know, I can remember making that phone call to my husband saying, you know, I just lost a 6-figure income, a company car. I was at home doing the happy dance. He was not so happy, but you know, you just got to trust, you got to have faith, and in all reality, you know, this is recession proof, because it was a time where people needed alternative ways to live well. They needed options. They couldn't afford insurance. They were all losing their jobs, and they were on expensive medications. And they
because those, when you don't have that insurance, those medications, the ones that you're paying a $20 copay for, $10, become a $1,000 or $2,000.
Right.
Yeah.
I really acknowledge Cindy for saying she did the happy dance, because during those times I was practicing here in Michigan, and the patients were used to handing out their insurance card, like it was a gold card, platinum card, that would pay for everything, and copays and deductibles got high, and we had always had cash plans, and it's one of those things during the recession, people still want their health and will do whatever they can to find it.
Right.
And you were on this search and journey, and we're not taking no as an answer. And I really, you know, commend you for taking that blessing. I liked how you said we were lucky we got cut.
Right.
So then I could focus on myself and my health and well-being, because without that, I wouldn't have a job, a family, you know, and all that stuff.
Absolutely. And you know, I didn't worry about all the small details. I just went out and do what I love, right? And I was busy from the get-go, and we've never looked back from the start. It just was meant to be, and I was able to use my knowledge and help others and give them alternative ways to live well that they could get off their medication. That's what we specialize in, reversing and delaying chronic illness through customized nutrition using a functional medicine approach. So, you know, we get people off 13 medications, and it saves money and it improves health.
Yeah. And you know this from your own journey and your own story. And this is real powerful. So what we're gonna do after break is we're gonna return back to Cindy, and because I know she's a registered nurse and functional medicine practitioner, and hear more about her and Nuview Nutrition and how we're impacting the communities with health, because I know that the viewers are also sitting there struggling with health, just like you did, just like we did, and we have answers and to not give up. So after the break, we will be back and hear more from Cindy and Nuview Nutrition. Hi, welcome back to Health Beat with Independence Television, Clarkston, Michigan. So we are hearing from our guest, Cindy with Nuview Nutrition, about her story and how she's come about in her current journey, and with her company, Nuview Nutrition and Functional Medicine. And Dr. Bennett and I were talking about on Health Beat how we want to educate the community about healthy things. Right. And as upper cervical chiropractors, of course, we want to get the spine adjusted, but we also need valuable and wonderful nutrition. And so we're here to have Cindy as a guest to talk to us about her journey and what she does with her company.
Because we said that from day one, you know, like you can have the great nervous system care. Nervous system will be functioning at 100%, right? And your innate intelligence be flowing at 100%. But if you're drinking battery acid every day and you're, you know what I mean, and you're living in a house right next to Chernobyl, you're still getting sick, right?
Yeah, those are really good analogies, by the way.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, very extreme, okay?
Yes, that's how I operate, extreme. So go ahead, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, sorry at all. It was very impactful. I was thinking of Twinkies and Fruit Loops and other bad things.
But how about Chernobyl?
And
how about Chernobyl?
We went extreme here, we do that. So
we like that.
We want to provide you with Cindy's wonderful story about her journey and her life and finding health and why she is here today. So we're going to continue with Cindy and your journey that you were telling us.
Okay, so before I actually went into pharmaceuticals, I was a registered nurse at St. Joe, Pontiac, and what I noticed is that I really loved discharging clients, and I thought, you know, why do I like that part so much of the experience? And it was because I got to spend time with the client and educate on, you know, going home and their aftercare, and educate about the disease process, and talk about the nutrition that they could implement at home to help them have better health and vitality so they don't end up back at the hospital. And I realized that I could better educate if I got into home care nursing. So I branched off into St. Joe's Home Care, which was Amacare back at the time, and loved it. So I got to, you know, visit the patients in their home, spend quality time teaching all about nutrition and ways they can better improve their health. At that point, I decided to now go back and get certified in nutrition and go to that deeper level. So at that point, I had to make a decision, because under the laws of nursing, you were in tight guidelines of what you were able to actually share with the client. And so it got kind of hard, because now it was a little bit more difficult as I wanted to teach them other things they could do to heal, but really couldn't do that without a doctor's order. Okay, so at that point is when I ended up going into pharmaceuticals, which was a beautiful stepping stone to learn the chemistry behind the drugs, how they worked in the body, understand the studies further. Because in functional medicine, I have to know how all of that works in the body. I have to know the side effects of the medication. I have to understand all the nutraceuticals that we use to help clients heal. So, you know, a nutraceutical is like a supplement that is clinically studied, and it's GMP certified, third-party tested. It's a higher quality, and we use those a lot to help clients reach the point of where they need to go. Their gas tanks are really empty when they come in, you know. They're usually loaded with nutritional deficiencies. They're not well, and they're coming in because they know that they shouldn't really be feeling so bad, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So when we get them in the door, we want to start replenishing the gas tank. We want to kind of fill them up, and we can teach them to do that with food, and we prescribe nutraceuticals to get them going. They're not often on those long term, but just so they feel better.
Right.
In 2 to 3 weeks.
Do you guys must see a lot of like gut issues, like a lot of gut issues going on? I mean, I feel like we hear that a lot. You know, I mean, that's a big thing that's going on. There's a lot of gut issues with a lot of young, especially young kids.
Oh.
So do you see that a lot, like a lot of different gastrointestinal issues?
It's about 98% of what we see.
Is gut issues. Wow, that's high.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, the gut microbiome is really it's a main organ in the body that people don't really view as an organ. And it's very important that it's functioning properly. It's 80% of the immune system, and everything's connected to it.
Yeah.
So gut health is like where you need to start.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah, and
gotta
I think people don't realize too that, you know, because we always hear, oh my gosh, you've got bacteria. We're supposed to have bacteria.
Right.
If we don't have that bacteria, it's actually bad. It's actually really bad. And so, yeah, I know what you mean. I don't think people realize how the gut can be damaged. You know what I mean, and how it's important to maintain good health.
Right.
Like I think people think it only digests food, and that's it.
Yeah, and like both of you were saying, there's that whole gut-brain connection, that communication between both of those organs,
Right.
and that's where the processes of both will help a patient and get better. And I really liked the word that you used, replenish, how you replenish these patients so they can get back to a working normal or standard.
Right, and you have to start, like, I think the gut's really the biggest place. But when we're doing a history, we're going all the way back to the birthing process and understanding if this person was, you know, a vaginal delivery, a C-section, were they breastfed, were they bottle fed? because all of that is important for how the microbiome in the gut develops.
From the very beginning.
Right, and that's like you said, you were seeing a lot of kids even. No surprise, because you know, even the diets upon birth are so important. Getting probiotics right out of the womb, because bacteria are important.
Right.
We got to have both, and we're made up of a lot of bacteria. But there's often sometimes more bad guys than there are good guys. And that's when you get into problems.
Right.
And like you were saying about the, you know, the brain and the gut connection, huge.
Yeah.
So ADD, anxiety, depression, early onset now of dementia, this whole brain disorder. I just attended the Mark Hyman 8-day series of The Broken Brain. Amazing series. But it all connected. And if you do not have the proper balance and a healthy gut, you're going to have problems in the brain. It could be something as simple as insomnia, anxiety, depression.
Right.
These are things that can be managed without medication.
Right.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, awesome.
So this is amazing from birth to even now.
That's what we
and that's
say.
what we're here to,
Yeah, that's
to
what we say
educate
all
the
the time,
public.
right?
Like, it's not just what you're dealing with now, but also what occurred earlier. So when you were talking about the history, that was quite impactful because we discussed this on our show. We're going to take another quick break, and whenever we return, we're going to hear more from Cindy and Nuview Nutrition. Hello and welcome back to Health Beat. In this episode today, we have a special guest, Cindy with Nuview Nutrition, and she's been giving us a wonderful story about herself and about her company and what she does. One of the unique things that she said in the last segment there was she was talking about birth and how our gut health literally starts from the birthing process, whether it's C-section or vaginal. And what's interesting, I had a hypnotherapist do a class Tuesday night at our office, and one of the common patient's daughters, we had done really well. She was on our testimonial about the Raynaud's phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
And then having her menstruating start in the last year and a half. But she was also having some challenges nutritionally, same nerves down there. And the hypnotherapist said, well, if it wasn't vaginal, she did not establish that good bacteria. And here's Cindy with Nuview Nutrition and functional medicine talking about that's where some of it starts at and how important it is that we're educating the public here through Health Beat and Independent Television to have you search for answers, because there's answers out there as we all searched. And so again, we want to know Cindy and her journey, why she got into this, and Dr. Bennett wanted to ask some specific questions.
Yeah, I actually wanted to, for the audience, to kind of, because you know, when you hear the name, when you hear Nuview Nutrition or nutrition, people automatically think of you know, that it's just like supplements or dietitian, or someone just kind of sits down with you and goes, no, don't eat that, or gives you the old food pyramid that the government puts out, right?
Right.
And you guys do much more than that. So if you could, can you tell our audience a little bit more about what a person in functional medicine does versus like a health coach, or and those are all great, you know, people also, and they help a lot of people, and we need those health coaches and things like that too. But what you guys do is different, and if you could maybe talk a little bit about that, what functional medicine is versus.
Certainly. So, you know, when I talk about functional medicine, it's the best way to think of it is looking at the root causes. And I use this tree to explain it to patients and the general population. Is when you see the tree, you can see the tree, and it looks healthy. Okay, but we don't really know what's going on under here in the soil, right? So when you see the tree dying or not doing well, you see the leaves kind of falling off, the bark may be peeling, the branches are falling, maybe the next season the tree doesn't kind of blossom. Well, what's really going on with that tree is under here, it's in the soil. And the soil is where all the symptoms lay. And so we like to address the underlying symptoms. So when you go to the doctor and you go with a ton of symptoms, usually you'll get a medication that will kind of take care of the symptoms, but it doesn't address the root causes. So you really don't get better from the situation. If you have high cholesterol, you take a cholesterol medicine and you always have a cholesterol issue.
Right.
But by addressing the underlying issues, you no longer live with the issue. You can reverse and delay chronic illness if you give the body the right environment. So what we like to do is help people focus on changing the landscape of the body, because it's the soil. It's the soil. And if you plant the seed and you give the soil the wrong environment, the seed is going to grow, right? But that's going to grow usually into disease state. So you really want to focus on giving the body the right soil and the right environment so that you can live in health, wellness, and vitality. So what we do different is we specialize in customized nutrition plans, and we're looking at the whole individual. So we're spending time, they complete very detailed assessment forms. Then the first appointment is a 2-hour appointment. We're doing body composition testing, UAs, every single visit. And that's helping us monitor at a cellular level. So we're looking at the cell, and we're looking to see how hydrated the cell is, if there's a permeability issue, what's the percent of fat versus the percent of lean dry mass, muscle. So there's a lot of detail. And that first appointment's very important because that's where we're digging into the history. Right. And it's so important, even if they weren't breastfed as a baby, and many of us were not back in the day, it wasn't really the thing to do.
At one point in time, it was actually considered like, I remember I heard somebody say that doctors companies came out with these formulas and they're like, we found a better solution than breast milk. This is better for you. And I was like, wait a minute, whoa, what? Yeah. Now we look back then and go, wow, that was kind of short-sighted. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. There was a point in time where it wasn't, you were cool if you had formula. Yeah. You didn't have to go through the breastfeeding.
And that causes a whole host of problems because the baby's not getting the immunities. You've got issues with not receiving the colostrum. The colostrum actually helps seal the gut membranes. So a lot of people that have increased intestinal permeability, that is known as leaky gut, they're walking around with inflammation in the gut. So these foreign invaders are kind of seeping through the lining of the gut. And those babies didn't stand a chance. Right. You know, so now what we've got to do is help people heal and seal the gut so that these foreign invaders can't seep through to the immune system. And that's kind of where it starts. And then we're going to look at what other underlying issues they have. Yeah. You know, these people oftentimes have, you know, they come in complaining of chronic fatigue, irritable bowel, Crohn's, fibromyalgia, Stoneman syndrome. I mean, Hashimoto's. There's so many, cholesterol, heart disease, high blood pressure. I mean, the list is endless. And it all really goes back to just giving the body the right environment, and it heals itself.
Yeah, yeah. This is what
Sounds
I've already.
Very familiar, right?
There's so many synchronistic things that we say here, where the healing comes from inside, where you want to get to the underlying cause. What's interesting too, as you probably heard Cindy say, is that this is not a vitamin shop. This is not your typical nutrition store. She's in here doing detailed tests, looking at the cellular level, and then with her education and background, she's very intelligent and smart and making suggestions to change somebody's health and the way to eat and nutrition.
Right.
Right. That's awesome.
And even customizing their activity level, whether they should be focusing more on rest, what should their activity be, customizing a food plan for them, and then figuring out and targeting what nutrition products would we want to bring on board to help increase and fill up that gas tank in the beginning phases.
Yeah, it's amazing. And we, I know the guys at Independence Television are going to put your Nuview Nutrition, I know they had your website up, your information there. So if the public wants to search for more information for you, that they can do that as well. I think that you were a phenomenal guest and very informative, impactful. I think we could go on for hours and hours talking about this. Easily. And I really loved the synchronicity that we had, and what we're trying to do is have the body heal itself and start with some of the root causes and some of the key features of what makes the body live. Yeah. And that's brain impulse, oxygen, water, and food, proper nutrition.
Right.
Right. And realizing too, like we talked about in many episodes, that the body's not a machine. It's an organism that has an innate intelligence there. That innate intelligence needs to be functioning and working. So.
And even if it didn't have the proper birth or breastfeeding or nutrition, there's hope.
Right.
And there's possibility to transform that person's health and well-being. We would love for you to like our Facebook page on HealthBeat. We also want Dr. Josh Hink wishes that he could be here. He says hello as well. And we want to thank Cindy from Nuview Nutrition. You were a phenomenal guest today.
Thanks for being here.
And very informative.
Thank you for having
us.
us.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
So we will see you on our next episode on HealthBeat here at Independence Television.